Hello, everyone, and welcome to OHSCA Interviews. I'm Vincenzo Calla, and I'm your host for today's episode. Today, I'm happy to have with me the MP for King Vaughan, Anna Roberts. Anna was first elected on September 20th, 2021, defeating the two-term Liberal MP and cabinet minister. Anna ran unsuccessful in 2019 until trying again and coming to victory in 2021. Anna is an energetic volunteer, youth mentor, wife, mother, and grandmother. Professionally, Anna has over 30 years of senior administrative experience from the banking and financial industry. She currently serves as the Deputy Shadow Minister for Mental Health, Addiction, and Suicide Prevention. Thank you, Anna, for your time, and thanks for joining us today.
Great to be here. Thank you for having me, Vincenzo.
So we're going to start off with our question and answer session, where all these questions come from our high school, our members from the high school team. So the first question is, what did you learn from the 2019 election that helped you succeed in 2021?
That's a great question, because one thing we did learn is we started early. We got prepared way ahead of the writ dropping, and that assisted us in our success. So what I would say to any new candidates, start as early as you can, get involved, and be proactive, because time is of the essence.
Well, for sure. I mean, I know that, obviously your 2019 was very close in your riding and you came to victory in 2021. But I know that this election, we knew it was coming, but at the same time, we didn't know when. So it would have been hard to. And I know that there were lots of ridings that they had their nomination races set for like a week before the campaign. They had to speed that up really quickly. And that was the problem with the snap election. We knew it was coming, but just not when.
Yeah, so I would say that from our party's perspective, that irregardless, we should have the candidates ready now. Because with a minority government, historically, we know that the term usually goes to 2 years, sometimes less, sometimes it's slightly more. And I think giving the candidates that opportunity to elect them early to nominate them early will allow them the opportunity to get involved in the community. Because I think community involvement is a huge plus for anybody in any political level.
For sure, and that's really what the job is, right? Just getting out in the community, and the earlier you do that in the election, you need to show that you're going to be a strong person in the community and that you'll be there. And that's the good thing about elections, especially elections in Canada. We get to have that election period where we see the person out in action and in the community.
Well, I've had the benefit of working in both. So I have a split riding. So my riding consists of the Township of King, which is approximately 28,000 members. 28,000 is the population. And then I also have all of Maple, North Woodbridge, and the entire Kleinburg. So I have a variety of a fairly large geographical area, and which makes up just over 130,000 constituents in the riding. So the interesting part is, because in my past career as a banker, I worked in both Vaughan and I've also worked in both King Township. So I was able to get involved many, many years ago. So a lot of people recognized me from the banking world. So I think that helped.
Well, that definitely sounds really helpful, especially that people knew you, and that's how you eventually came to be the MP. And it's important that people that run are known, or if they're not known, make themselves known, and that's how you go to victory. So we're going to go to the second question, which comes from Andrew in Peterborough, and he asks, as the Deputy Shadow Minister for Mental Health, Addiction, and Suicide Prevention, do you have any plans for the future to help youth who are experiencing depression and other mental health issues, especially when bringing it to Parliament?
So our in the last campaign, one of the commitments that the party made was our plan was to boost by $60 billion over the next 10 years to benefit mental health and addiction. Obviously, with the COVID hitting, that is even more crucial today than it was even prior to COVID. After 2 years of lockdowns, it's important that we understand these lockdowns escalated the urgency that we need to address with mental health. One of the other things that we also projected was that we would add a benefit to employers, a tax credit benefit to include mental health in their benefits for their employees, creating a pilot program to provide $150 million over 3 years in grants to nonprofit charities would also help, because there's a lot of assistance out there, but the funding sometimes jeopardizes their opportunities to assist people with mental health. The other thing that we are pushing for is that we would like to have the 3-digit emergency line. I think the best thing that I would suggest, this is from my own personal experience, and I have friends that are struggling through depression and mental health issues, and they've escalated through this period of COVID, is be there. Just listen. Pick up the phone. And I know this might sound silly, but on my drive to and from the office every day, I have a list of people that I call because I know that they're struggling with issues. And really the conversation from my point of view is not that. The question I ask of them every day is, how's your day going today? And what are your plans? Like, what are you going to do? Because a lot of the times there is no communications. We have people that are struggling with mental health, and they have no one that takes the time to make that opportunity or give them that opportunity to speak to someone else. So I think all of us have a role to play in life and ensure that people that are struggling, it's just listen, be gracious, and be compassionate.
That's some really good things to think about when it comes to mental health. And especially there's so many mental health issues that came about during this harsh time, this terrible, hard time, almost 2 years now of COVID, and it hit everybody, seniors, it hit young people that couldn't go to school, seniors that couldn't see their families, people that were in isolation for months. And that's why, I mean, it's so important. You're talking about some of the things that our party put forward in the past election, and secure mental health was step number 3. It came before secure the country and secure the economy.
Yeah.
It was one of our main pillars, and it's great that our party, and even I discussed a couple episodes ago, we actually had Mike Lake on, the shadow minister. Good. We had him on and we had a good discussion about mental health, and it's just important that it becomes an issue that everybody works with, and it seems that every party is somewhat on the same page when it comes that mental health is important, and hopefully everybody works together. I know that working together in Parliament goes against the general nature of the theater of Parliament, but we saw it happen in this fall with the conversion therapy bill. Everybody came together and supported it and got it through. It can happen again with the 3-digit hotline. The 3-digit suicide hotline is so important. I'm not sure, I forgot which MP it was in the last session that was pushing it forward, but it's just so important that that goes through, because 3 digits is so can help it instead of that 10-digit phone number. So hopefully
it was very interesting, because during the Christmas holiday, I've been volunteering at a seniors home for longer than I care to remember, but I dress up each year and I'm their Mrs. Claus. Now you might think that's silly, but the smiles that it puts on their faces, the staff continually share with me how important that day is for them, because they feel that they're being recognized, that they're part. Hey, we didn't forget about you. Now, you know, it's not a huge deal for me to do that, but when I walk away and I see the smiles on their faces, that just makes my whole year. I have to tell you. I mean, one of the things I'm also involved with, I'm on the committee for veterans, and one of the items that I am tackling is investigating the effects on our veterans with service dogs dealing with PTSD. I actually have a meeting next week with one of the doctors that is involved in that area. And the amazing thing about it is that these dogs, and we're talking about humans here, they are able to help with the depression, help with people struggling with PTSD We have different ways of dealing with mental health. I think as a country, we owe it not just to our veterans, but to all our citizens, the opportunity to be able to help them and not just rely on drugs and medication. What other avenues can we take to help people struggling with depression, with PTSD, with all of that? And I think there's it's going to be an interesting time for me to investigate both aspects, because I think they go hand in hand.
Well, for sure. And I volunteered at a seniors home prior to COVID, from 2018 until I guess 2020. And similar to your experiences, I used to call bingo, and I used to help out with bingo and
Yeah,
transport to the music venue. And it's just
yeah,
sometimes like the smallest things can make a giant difference. And especially now during COVID, I haven't been back to the seniors home that I helped out in almost 2 years now. It'll be 2 years in March that I haven't been back, and it saddens me. But what saddens me is that it probably saddens them more. And it's important that we remember that. And hopefully when things go back to normal, we can go back and do the things like volunteering and bring a smile to their faces more.
absolutely.
So we're going to
Good for
go into,
you. Good for you.
it's a little thing, like you said, but it makes a big difference.
Huge
The,
difference.
the third question is, how do you plan to get in touch with and listen to the concerns of your constituents and bring them to Ottawa?
So when I was canvassing, one of the things I will tell you, because I had an opportunity to start early prior, and like you said, we never knew when the writ was going to drop, but my goal was to contact as many people in the community as possible. Now, unfortunately, during the lockdown, we were restricted from going door to door. So I formed my team. Our team was formed early. A lot of them were from the 2000. I would say 95% of my team were the 2019 team. We added a few new people this time around. And we decided that we would start phone calling. And believe it or not, I ended up having to apologize to my campaign manager, because every day he would check to see how many calls or how many attempts I had made. And we had a goal. So every day the goal continued to go higher and higher, not realizing that when the lockdowns were removed and we were able to go door to door, I can't tell you how many people said to me, "Oh my goodness, you called me and said that you were going to try and visit me, but I never believed you." So it made a huge difference. I made over 20,000 calls myself before the writ even dropped. The opportunity, it's not so much remembering the people, but sharing, having the opportunity to let constituents share their stories. Those stories resonated with me, listening to them, understanding their concerns. And there was a general consensus with my seniors, people struggling with children with disabilities. Autism is huge in my riding. We have a lot of parents that are struggling to keep up with the medical expenses associated with their children. So I think it's more about listening, understanding, looking at getting them help that they need. I had a senior recently call me, 80 years old, who had lost his job because of COVID. And the only reason he was working was because his small pension that he had saved up through the years and through his little job that he had wasn't enough to sustain the medical expenses for his wife. Again, those are things that we need to look at as a government, to understand that, you know, these are citizens of ours that have paid into our tax system, have worked hard, have raised their family. They're reaching out to us for help. So we need to do a better job. I think listening and understanding and helping is probably why we're here today. If we're here for any other reason, hate to say this, but we shouldn't be running.
Well, that's so true. And I mean, especially you mentioned how those stories resonated with you and those stories that you heard. And I'm sure that there are many times there wasn't much question period from the start until Christmas, but now that you're going to be going back, and I'm sure in that time, those couple of weeks you were in Parliament, I'm sure as you heard the ministers speaking, and as you heard your colleagues speaking, and the other opposition MPs from the other parties speaking, I'm sure your memory started getting jogged with stories that you heard during the campaign, and whether they're good stories or stories of people that needed help. I'm sure that you heard those, and that's a way that you can maybe bring them forward during those questions and during those discussions, whether in Parliament or at committee as well, just sharing your insight and sharing what you heard from your constituents.
True.
So we're going to go on to the fourth question, which is, how can the Conservative movement come together to prioritize national unity and accountability? And this comes from Rayn from Toronto.
So our caucus meets, as you know, on a regular basis. So we have our Ontario caucus meeting, and then we have our national caucus meeting. We meet on a regular basis, and we have an opportunity to listen to the leader. We have an opportunity to listen to the whip, and we also have an opportunity to share. Each province has an opportunity to share the concerns that are pertaining to their particular provinces. As you know, every province has different issues. Recently, the BC provinces went through the floods. So we have an opportunity to listen and hopefully act on them. We speak to our volunteers during the campaign. One of the things I found was I would say the majority of my volunteers, or my everyday volunteers, I would say 90% of them were youth like yourself, either in high school or university. And I got to tell you, they energized me. So every day we would have a team huddle, and we would pick a song, and we would go out and just cheer everybody on. Those volunteers went out to their friends who had no clue about what they were doing. They had no idea why they would even get involved in politics. And that generated more and more young people to join the team. And I got to tell you, if we don't get our youth involved, the Conservative Party will never be government, because it's our youth that I feel our youth energize us. And I learn a lot. I have to tell you, a lot of my team right now are either in university or about to attend university. And I just spoke to one of my volunteers who said that they would not have even understood the difference between an EDA and government. So there's a lot of learning, but I think the youth did a great job of explaining it to our volunteers. If we can get people to understand what our Conservative movement is about, as you know, or maybe will know, a lot of the universities are very liberal, but I think they get indoctrinated and they don't see both sides of it. So it is our job as Conservatives to educate them and to get them involved, have them come out, have them listen to our platform. So I think that's the biggest thing. I think we can unite the youth. We can also form government.
For sure. And we'll go into actually getting in youth involvement in the next, in the final little section that we have, that we ask everybody. But yeah, that's just a great way to stay united as a party, especially if we do want to form government. I know that with OHSCA, we try to get as many young Conservatives involved as possible in high school, even some that are not even in high school yet, like Rayn, but still want to get involved in politics. And whether you're a Conservative or just don't really know about politics, just get involved in any way you can. It's never a bad thing to learn about politics. You're going to be a voter. You're either a voter or you will be a voter at some point in your life. So it's just so important. And also in terms of accountability, I think that the young people sometimes, some adults like to say, like, brush us off. But if anything, we have that mindset of, okay, how do we do things right? And that's how we stay accountable, by making everybody have an equal say. And like when we said with Candace Bergen last year, having a membership at 14, you're allowed to have a membership at 14. Right. So a 14-year-old Conservative member has the exact same say as an 80-year-old Conservative member. And that's how we stay accountable. And if we form government, that's how we stay accountable, listening to the concerns of people and giving everybody a fair say.
I'll be honest with you. One of the part of canvassing that I enjoyed was meeting the young people. And we met a lot of our volunteers simply by knocking on the door. Currently, I have Andrew, who works for me, who I met knocking on the door. He was homeschooling because of, the universities were in lockdown. And he answered the door during, I guess, one of his breaks, and he ended up joining the team. And I got to tell you, he has probably been a great contributor to our team. Very knowledgeable. He's doing his poli-sci. Amazing young man. And that to me shows me that I have hope for the future for you young people, because if you get involved early, then you're ready to take on the country. Because listen, there's going to be a day where we can't do it anymore. We need you. We need the youth to step up. So what you're doing, Vincenzo, I applaud you.
And I hope everybody forgives me for this, but I'm going to say this. That's how we secure the future. That's how we secure the future with the young people. That's what I said.
Absolutely right. I mean, yes, take that page and run with it, because it's true. It's so true. As a branch manager for 34 years, I encouraged, the bank had a program where people that couldn't afford to go to post-secondary, they would allow you to take courses and they would pay for them, right? As long as it's the same courses that any student would take in university, but they have to pertain to business. And I got to tell you, I used to always encourage them, go out there and you can still do this. You can get your education, you can move up in the company and learn the different aspects and learn about the business that you so desire to be in. And so I think we need to do the same thing at the conservative level.
For sure. And we're going to go into the last part, which is advice for the next generation. We'll do this really quickly. We'll talk about youth involvement in politics. So just really quickly, what should young high school conservatives do in order to get more politically active? One piece of advice that you would give young conservatives.
Get involved. Get involved with your local EDA. Get involved with your local candidate. Reach out to find out who your candidate is for your area. Maybe it's a current MP. I'm not sure. I mean, every riding is different, but get involved. Pick up the phone, call them, and get involved. Start volunteering. They do qualify for volunteer hours, as you know. I have students that I've met in the 2019 election that is involved. They are involved right now, both with, well, now we're going to a provincial election. So now they've switched over to help our local MPP, who's the Minister of Education, Mr. Stephen Lecce, the Honorable Stephen Lecce. So get involved, learn about it, because the opportunities are there for you.
For sure. And if you live in a double conservative riding, provincial, like your riding is now, and you have plenty of resources, even if you do have a one conservative MP or MPP, whatever you have, just get involved. There's no shortage of opportunities, I'm sure.
Absolutely.
So that is all. Thanks, Anna, for your time today. We really appreciate you being with us. We wish you well in the future. And that is all. We hope you enjoyed today's interview. You can look for more interviews coming soon. Make sure to follow our Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok accounts at Ontario OHSCA for info about our next interview and for more great content. Make sure to look at our website at ontariohsconservatives.org to learn more about us, see our projects, and for more great content. For YouTube viewers, make sure to like this video, subscribe to our channel, and click the notification bell so you never miss another video. And for our podcast listeners, we make sure to follow us and stay updated with new episodes. We hope to see you all soon.
Thank you very much. Have a great day.